Okay. Welcome everyone. My name is Kamal Hathi, and I'm here to talk to you about doing the presentation at the Cloud Roadshow. As you know, I work in the Power BI team, and I'm going to walk you through the slides that I typically use. There's some modifications to those, along with some demos. And I may look at notes or ask for questions with Sanjay, who's in the room with me here, to help me out. But overall, the idea is to walk you through these things. The slides will most likely change a little bit. The demos might change a bit, but you get the overall flow. With that said, let's get going and switch over to the PowerPoint. And this is the nice long title for what we're doing. And you can see that it's what it is. So let's move on from that. Now, typically what we'll do, the first slide which we'll put up in the presentation is going to be a thing that says, please tweet, and there'll be some hashtags there, and we'll figure the hashtags out. Typically, it's Power BI compared to Forza Motorsport or something like that. And the idea is to get the audience involved and start working, and then we move on. So assuming the slide's up, now we say something like, state your names, why you are here, welcome to the Cloud Roadshow, it's great to be here. As you all know, today's day, data is everywhere. It's an explosion of data. We see it in all kinds, shapes, and forms, and that really requires a new form of analytics, a new modern type of analytics in BI, handling real-time data, unstructured data, social, etc. And in fact, we have exactly that from Microsoft, and we call that Power BI. An example of Power BI is something I'm going to show you right now, and that is a dashboard, which I'm going to switch over to. And this dashboard is right here, and you can see it. And what you see is a Power BI dashboard that shows sentiments coming in from various kinds of tweets that are taking place, some of which you in the audience might have just done right now. So I can even go in and look at tweets that are coming in by city, number of tweets, sentiment over time, and you may notice that our sentiments typically just happen to be neutral or positive, because we are pretty smart and throw away all the negative ones. You can see breakdown by heat map, but it's a single straightforward view in one place of the sentiments related to what you might have been collecting. In our case, it happens to be the topics you're tweeting. Not only can you take a look at this in one single place in a nice, beautiful, modern interface, you can start asking questions of it easily. I can go in and say it's things such as a number of tweets, and it comes up with that. If I say, by hashtag, it gives me that. If I say hashtag, not hashtag Forza, and it starts to understand what that means. And I say Forza Motorsport, and it removes it. You can see I only have these ones. You can say, by hashtag and sentiment, and I can even add to it, maybe in the last hour or in the last 10 minutes, something like that. And as you do these, it's understanding of your language, understands the questions you're asking, it breaks it down, and really enables users to interact with the system in a very, very effective way. So this is an example of a modern dashboard that we enable users to get to. Now, this kind of a system is very, very symbolic of the kinds of systems in the modern world we see these days. And going back to our slides, the real trends that we've been seeing driving these kinds of systems have been around a couple of things. One is this whole thing around the cloud, data, how we gather them, the fact there's an explosion of data everywhere, and really that's necessitated the whole business of collecting information, storing in the cloud computing as a whole. But the one thing that's really driven a real big change in how people work is this notion of software as a service, or SaaS. SaaS has really made a big change and has driven how people work with data. So if we go back to the slides, we can see this notion of how we think SaaS has shaped markets. Now this slide here actually has a mistake in its build-up. The way it would be building up for you is we'll show only Siebel, and you can start talking about Siebel software. And Siebel software, if you go back to 2004, was what essentially the 800-pound gorilla on the market. This is the thing that everybody used. Everyone used Siebel to make sense out of sales automation and CRM kind of data. The trouble, of course, was in order to get that benefit, you had to go and pay IT professionals, consultants, literally thousands and if not hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to go to those installations. And it was only available to the high-end businesses. Very few people could afford it. And the business users who paid for it may not have seen the value of what they'd played for Siebel till they actually got it delivered. And then it was a toss-up whether they got what they wanted or not. Today, of course, if you can stay on the slides, today, of course, things have changed. If you go, Siebel got bought in 2005 by Oracle for roughly $4 billion. $4 billion was Oracle paid for them. Great transaction at that time. If you come to 2015, you fast forward, the question is, who is now the 800-pound gorilla in the sales automation and CRM business? If you ask the question to the audience, you may get the answer, and it really is Salesforce. Salesforce is the dominant player today, and the valuation of Salesforce is $50 billion, nearly 12 times of that of Siebel. And the reason that's happening is because Salesforce allows an end user, a business user, to walk up with just username and password, get value immediately without asking for those IT professionals, without asking for those consultants, without those millions of dollars. $0, 0 cents, immediate value. That's the hallmark of a SaaS solution. And we've seen this over and over again in all enterprise categories. We've seen this with HR, with Workday. We've seen this at Help Desk, with Zendesk, marketing, Marketo, mailing, MailChimps, web analytics, with Google Analytics. Every single category, we have seen this. Even traditional things like file share, where people had these whack, share, public, whatever long names that you would go and put your files up on servers where other users could get to. Now, everyone, of course, uses simple systems such as OneDrive. Well, not really OneDrive, the audience might laugh a bit. Dropbox is the dominant player there. Now, only BI is a category where this has not happened yet, where SaaS has not overtaken. And the reason for that is that BI depends on data, and data in turn is locked up in systems that are under lock and key, that are hard to reach at from the cloud and SaaS services. Now, all that is changing because indeed we have things such as Salesforce or Zendesk or Marketo or Google Analytics or Dropbox or OneDrive, where you can get at these systems directly without requiring IT permission and can pull them into other SaaS services. So BI is ripe for the disruption. And in fact, that is why we believe it is the right time to deliver the kind of BI service that we are doing with Power BI. And we believe Power BI, which is a cloud-based SaaS service, will do exactly to BI what Salesforce has done to sales automation, or Dropbox and OneDrive have done to file sharing. And the goal then is to do that with Power BI. So that's the rationale behind why we are doing what we are doing with our BI platform, why Power BI is so prominent to us, and why it is leading our messaging all the time. So for us, Power BI ushers in a new age. It's a new age of BI, which we call the third wave of BI. And the third wave of BI is characterized by the fact that all users, business users, end users, are able to participate on their own without requiring IT, without requiring even analysts to help them out, and they can just immediately get value out of their data. Now, if you go back to the slides, we can start talking about the fact that this evolution of BI is one that builds on the previous ages, if you will. So if you say that Power BI is a third wave, then there has to be a first and a second wave. So the first wave of BI, which is very much where IT has servers and delivers value to users via those servers. So you connect your reports to back-end reporting services, analysis services, great examples of those. This mode is still very important. In fact, it's a central part of what we at Microsoft do, and if we build on this, we'll talk about it. So the first wave of BI, very important, still makes sense. This led to the second wave of BI, which is the self-service wave, where the analysts, so the person who uses Excel, for example, has been delivering value to the end user. And this is the sort of dominant modality in which most of the market is running today. So things like Tableau or ClickTech are great examples of these kinds of analyst-driven self-service BI second wave solutions. And of course, Excel is the dominant player here, the one that is one that everybody's got. So this is still very, very important. Excel is super important to us. In fact, we're adding something called the Power BI Desktop, which we'll talk and show to you in a little bit, which is a very important part of this second wave self-service approach. This in turn allows data to be available to everybody. And we talked about this notion of SaaS unlocking this third wave of BI. And these three waves build on each other. It's not a single thing where the third wave replaces the others. For example, Salesforce replaces Siebel, but Power BI does not replace the other parts of what we deliver in our BI stack, as we call it. So think about the third wave of BI as one that is like a Russian doll model, one upon the other builds on it. And so what we have is the combination of technical BI and self-service BI and end-user, business user-oriented BI is what characterizes the third wave of BI, and that's what we enable with our products. And Power BI is the front end, the spearhead of this product family, but it builds on many other things that we'll talk about right now. With that said, Power BI is that spearhead that we deliver to you. It is a cloud-based SaaS service. When we talked about the SaaS disruption, this exactly is what it is. It delivers a 360-degree view of your business directly to you, and we'll take a look at that in a couple of minutes. It allows you to connect to data very, very easily. And the important part to understand here is that, one, it is geared towards end users, so it's available on any device. It's mobile enabled. But also we delivered tools that are available to analysts to go and create the content for these end users. So we have tools that are built in conjunction for the end user and the analyst and the IT professional all together into one solution that we call Power BI. And we'll go over aspects of Power BI in just a minute. Now, with that said, the question gets asked in this audience is typically, I'm sure you guys are wondering, what are we trying to solve? What are the solutions we provide to BI professionals, the kinds of things that they are looking for? So when we talk to BI professionals across the world, the feedback we've been getting is that there are two top categories that they are dealing with. And these happen to be the following. The key challenges they're facing are around securing and managing the data, choosing the right tools for the right users at the right time, and then being able to connect to the vast sea of data that's available inside the organization and outside. And being able to solve these problems, and there are many others associated with this, is what we get asked over and over again. So we are delivering these solutions in our tool set to our users, to you. So let's break this down and go over each of these areas and talk about how we do this. So the first one we're talking about relates to securing and managing data. And the way that works for us is by starting off and delivering value in the product set on terms that work for you. So not cloud only, not on-premises only, but any modality that works for you. So hybrid is a very central part of what we deliver. Our solutions are hybrid in nature. What that means is you can keep your data, your assets that are your corporate data assets under lock and key on your premises, yet taking advantage of the cloud, its value, getting the infrastructure very cheaply, being able to have all the reliability, elasticity, scalability, etc. that cloud provides, while keeping the data secure. So you don't have to worry about setting up servers for visualization, for collaboration. Those things the cloud can handle. The data can remain on premises. If you choose to keep the data in the cloud, that works fantastically as well. It's your choice. And this is really important, giving you a solution that manages and secures data on your terms. With that said, we allow you to get at your data in many different ways. You can go at it what we call the live query fashion. So you can get at data directly in things like analysis services, where every query goes directly to the server, results come back and are visualized. We can go and cache the data into the cloud service. So it's a scheduled refresh modality where data is pulled from on-premises into the cloud, if you will, or from other cloud sources into our cloud. And then we also allow you to have data landing in real time into our cloud system, into your dashboards and reports. And in fact, I'll show that in a bit to you. So this ability to get data in real-time pushed manner, in a refresh schedule, cached way, or in a direct live query allows you to have this flexibility again on your terms. last but not least, because you're able to control how data is delivered on-premise, off-premise, hybrid, scheduled refresh, real-time, etc., it provides governance and management for IT, which is so super important. So we enable all of these things with our entire stack of products, and they work all together to do these kinds of things. All right, with that said, the second challenge that we heard about again and again is around this notion of the right tool for the right user. So going back to the slides, the first user that we encounter, the one that is super important actually, is a business user, the end user. This is the person who pays the bills. They are actually increasingly have the wallet share of technology spending. So which means that they are the ones who decide what tools they want, what kind of solutions they want. HR, retail, in marketing, in operations. All of these users are deciding what they want. So getting them the right solution is super important, and that's what we do. So the Power BI SaaS service is a great example of delivering value to the user directly. The user gets is a single pane of glass, we call it, a view of the business together. There's out-of-the-box content for them to go and connect to and get value, and I will show those things to you right now. Reports that are interactive, slice and dice, gorgeous-looking results they can work with. Mobile apps for iOS, Android, and Windows, and then the ability to share and collaborate together, being able to, in a work group, get value on their own. So they can do all of these things with the Power BI solution. And the best way to understand this actually is to show this in action. Nothing speeds better than a demo, so I'm going to switch over and do a demo, a quick demo, showing you Power BI in action. So we'll switch over the demo. And you saw this before already when I was in the social analytics dashboard, which is a nice, interesting view of an interesting real-time, unstructured data view. Another example of this is this dashboard here. What this shows is data coming in from something called how-old.net. If you haven't seen this, actually it's very interesting for the audience to try it out. They can actually go up to how-old.net, and literally people just ask the audience, go connect, use your mobile phones, and look at this site from the mobile phone. You can enable to take a picture, and it answers some pretty interesting questions that people seem to have. I'm not sure why they have these questions. It answers questions such as how old you are and what gender you are. And it answers this question based upon taking a picture of you and then analyzing the image using machine learning algorithms to figure out, based upon feature extraction of the face, what is this person's age and what gender are they from. And in fact, turns out lots of people are doing this. How many? Well, take a look at this dashboard. This dashboard is live. It is telling you right now, you saw the numbers change as we talk. The graphs are moving. About 79 people in the last 60 seconds took a picture of themselves, uploaded it to the service, 103 right now for that matter, and asked this question. As they did it, the data streamed through what we call Azure Stream Analytics. And we applied a machine learning algorithm on it, which recognized their faces, did predictive analytics. And when we get from it the average age, the breakdown by gender, we can see things by what kind of browsers they used. So at the same time, we're also able to see how many people in the past have been doing it. It turns out 84 million users use this. 574 million different pictures were uploaded. And so in one single view, you can see out here historical data, you can see current real-time data, and you can see predictions made by the system in one place. So historical, real-time, predictive, all in one single place for you to view and see and get value out of. One more quick thing to add. You see this graph out here? One that's got a spike. The reason the spike exists is because we first did this was in a demo for the Build conference, which was our developer conference. And the idea we had was we'll show it to a few hundred people in the room. They'll try it out. Maybe it'll scale to 1,000 or so. That's a scale point designed for. This thing went viral. Literally, you can see it went from 0 users to 15 million users in a few days. And guess what? The system kept ticking. It never fell over. And the reason it just worked is because we use the cloud, Azure. Azure provides elastic scale, the ability to just work regardless of the design point you might have had in the beginning. In the old days, you would have had to run around, add servers, and I don't know how you would have scaled. But now with Azure, it's transparent. Just get the value out of it. And you don't even have to worry upfront about the architecture, et cetera, to be right. In fact, this was built by a few people who are not really deep developers, but much more people like me, product managers trying to do demonstrations instead of building real scalable products. So very, very interesting to see the fact that it just works by the strength and the value of the cloud that it provides. It's a great example of a single pane view that we talked about, the 360-degree dashboard. The other interesting thing that Power BI provides is allows end users to on their own connect to data and get value without asking for help. So in Power BI, you can see we have this dashboard with these tiles. Each tile actually has a report behind it. And the way you get to this is you go and connect and get data. And you get data from all kinds of sources, from files, from databases, from other services, from data inside the organization. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we connect to these different kinds of SaaS services. I mean, I talked about before that the world is really now changing towards SaaS. And you can see here, we connect to GitHub, to MailChimp, Marketo, and Salesforce. Certainly, of course, we connect to Dynamics CRM and Dynamics AX. So that's super important to us, and it's important to understand that. But Salesforce is quite popular, so we'll use that. We connect to it, and it says connect. You typically type in a username and password. In this case, I've already done it. On stage, you would also have done it. And as you do that, connect to Salesforce. I know what happened in this thing. Some kind of a glitch, I suppose. OK. Well, what should have happened, and you guys know how this works. You connect to Salesforce. It gives you a dialog. It says connect. And then you end up back in the dashboard. It says creating, connecting, etc. And then what you show to people is a Salesforce dashboard that's loading up. And it ends up in something like this, where you see a finished dashboard that in real time has connected to the Salesforce cloud, got the data to our cloud, and put it together. And what I encourage you to do is to show that, talk about the fact that the user is using his own credentials, his own data, without any help, was able to connect to Salesforce, get the data, hydrate this template that we worked together with Salesforce to provide, and get a solution on their own. So again, end user oriented, giving them value immediately on their own without requiring help from anybody else. That's the power of working with Power BI and doing these kinds of connectivity options. So with that said, we'll switch back over and look at slides. And so we talked about one user type, which is the business user. Now, Power BI is not just for the business user. In fact, it is a very, very powerful tool for the business analyst. Now, in this case, we actually introduced a new tool called the Power BI Desktop. The Power BI Desktop, in one single place, takes the best parts of what we had in Excel with Power View, Power Pivot, Power Query, and puts acquisition, cleansing, visualization, modeling, all in one place for the user to use. Now, the best part of that, of course, is that it's free. You can go to powerbi.com, go to products, download Power BI Desktop, and within minutes, you're up and running. No questions asked, no username, password, no nothing. So it's friction-free acquisition and gives you ability to get value very quickly. The second thing that's important to stress is that the Power BI Desktop and Power BI in general has been evolving with a rapid pace. Every week we update the service. Every month we update the Power BI Desktop. And updates aren't just little things. We've been adding tens, if not 20, 40, 30 features every month to the desktop, and its value keeps increasing literally day by day. And that's really important in terms of what the user gets from using Microsoft, and the fact that unlike other tools where you have to wait sometimes years for new things to come up, here the value is evolving right as you use it. Okay, so when you talk about, let's go back to the slides for a little bit, because I'll make a few more points there. When you talk about the Power BI Desktop, it's important to understand that one of the real key aspects of this is that it's got this data mashup capability. You can get data from all kinds of sources, and we'll see in a demo. But it's a mini ETL tool built in. And a business analyst can go in and mash up data and get value very, very quickly out of it. Once they do that, they can visualize, explore, find patterns, find insights, and then based on that, go and get these aha moments from which they can build reports, publish them out, create some beautiful visualizations, and then push them out to end users to go and get value out of. All the while creating data models, of course, that have interesting calculations, interesting views that they can build based on those data models. And the data models, again, important to emphasize and stress, are what enable what we saw previously with the natural language interface and the ability to ask questions in Q&A. And the data model enables those kinds of things as well. So another way to explain all this is obviously to show it. So I'm going to switch over to my demo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch Power BI Desktop. It's right here. And you can see the desktop come up. And really important as it comes up to point out that with all of what we're doing with our products is that central to it is not just the tool, the technology, but making users successful. Right off the bat, we provide videos, we provide the ability to get samples. All of those things are built in right in front of you. So if you want to get started, download Power BI, look at the video, and get going. Now, as I mentioned before, the desktop can connect to all sorts of data. I've got this button to connect to data. And you can see I can connect to files, SQL, databases, Oracle, Teradata, I mean, all kinds of things. What I want to do is recreate that Twitter dashboard that we saw and show that to you in how you build it in very few clicks in the Power BI desktop. So I will connect to HD Insight, which is a Hadoop in Microsoft Azure. It's a Hadoop solution in Azure. It's a big data solution. I connect to it, and I have to give it only the name of my Hadoop server, if you will. And again, just by doing this, I have actually Power BI Social. Sorry, I'm misspelling that. Right? So no data, but Power BI Social. And just by connecting like this way, I'm already way ahead of what most people can do with these big data systems. Typically, you need to be able to go in and FTP and use Java and all kinds of things. But here, just connect. I see what's available on my Hadoop server. I can see that there are a couple of files, that are JSON files. I'm going to go edit what I'm going to work with, because remember I talked about a mini ETL tool. You'll see that in action. Pick the first file, the binary file, and you can now go in and as it loads up, start to work with it. Now, one tip I'll give you for all these demos is use this thing called Zoom It. Zoom It allows you to go in and zoom parts of the demo so you can start seeing things as they are there. Now, as this is opening up, and it's taking a while, there it is, I would have gone and zoomed in and actually shown what's happening, but I'm not doing that here. So here I get a list of records. This is a JSON file, a bunch of nested records. I can go in and transform this to a table. As simple as that. I mean, this in itself is a big deal. Working with JSON can be quite difficult. Transform to a table. I've got nested records. I'm going to explode the nested records out. I'm going to use all of these guys here, all of my columns, not use my original column name as prefix. And as simple as that, I've got myself now from a nested set of records that may look like garbage to something that I can actually parse and look at. I can go in and say, hey, this is like a date and time column. Go in and change its types to date time. And as simple as that, I can get that done. So I can now work with date time. If I had things there about geography, I could change those. And look here, you can do all kinds of things. You can remove columns, keep columns, change date and time. You can go in and transformations that are around statistics. It's very, very powerful. At this point in time, I'm just go back and load this data in and apply it to my model. So it'll upload it in, put it into a data model automatically, by the way, in Power BI Desktop. Again, very, very powerful, the fact that it loads it into a data model automatically. And now I have the fields in my model I can work with. And because of the data model, it understands things like city is a geography. And because city is a geography, the tool is smart enough to know that I should show it in a map. So it looks a beautiful map here. I can go in and start picking up things such as the text of the tweets. I can actually go and show the actual text, and I can see the tweets out here, right? I can see that immediately out here. I can go in and start picking up things such as the sentiment and the retweet count, and I can easily go in and do that. And let me go in and pick up the sentiment, and I can do it by this retweet count. And I can actually go in and change that to a different kind of a thing which doesn't look right. So I go and drag it into my values, and you can see this beautifully done here. In fact, I can go in and say, you know what, this is nice, but what if I want to change it a little bit? And I can go in and change colors. I can say, hey, pick this guy, and instead of having, let me go down here. Instead of having the colors of this, maybe I want the colors for, like yellow, as you know, in Power BI, so we can put it in yellow. And I can add more things in here. For example, I could also add it in city, in this case, and retweet count, and move that into there, and immediately change it over into a heat map, again making sure that the retweet count shows up here. And as simple as that, now I got the whole thing wired up. And guess what? Every time I go and click on something, it's all cross-filtering. It just works. I can find anomalies, I can explore. It's a very powerful tool to go work with, and you can see everything is filtered in. I want only neutral tweets, I want only positive tweets. I can see where they're taking place, what kinds of breakdown. So the whole thing, very, very powerful to explore and get value out of, and you're done. You can just go and publish, and that's as simple as that. You build yourself a solution like the one I showed you at the beginning of the session. With that said, I'm going to switch back over now to my slides. So again, this was the Power BI desktop, which again, we just touched, really just touched the surface of the desktop. You can do so much more. You can create new measures. You can go in and add calculations. DAX is built in. This is a super, super, super powerful tool. And in fact, we might expand this demo a little bit as you go and deliver it to the audience outside, because this is a really important part of our product, and we must stress this and show this in as much depth as we can. Okay, let me switch back to my slides. So that's about the analysts and giving value to what they get out of it. The third type of user that's important to us is, of course, the, I skipped the demo slide, we should demo and then the demo slide, of course, is the IT pro. The IT pro is the one who keeps all of this together. We talked about the three waves. We have actually worked our way backwards for those waves. We went from the end user to the who did the literal third wave characteristics which you saw in action. Then we saw the self-service BI in action with the desktop, and then what we end up with is going backwards is the first wave, enabling the IT professional to deliver value to all of the analysts and end users who really need the infrastructure to succeed with. So towards that, we are delivering our products in SQL Server, and SQL Server 2016 is a new release that's coming out. Really important to understand that Microsoft is investing quite heavily in this area. We're investing in making sure the analysis services, reporting services, and other parts of the tool set are getting an upgrade. They're getting much better, many more capabilities in here. And I will just touch on this a little bit in this session, but it's worth having a discussion, maybe drill down on all the great good things that are coming in SQL Server 2016. So the first things that we are going to deliver in there relate to analysis services. Here we are enabling much better manageability and security. We are updating the SSDT toolset so that that's one of the most used things when people work with what's called BIDS or the BI Dev Studio. We're making much better there. We're giving the ability to look at events and troubleshoot and diagnose things much better with X event support. We are extending the tabular scripting language, adding the language there for doing an object model to allow you to go in and as a BI professional, as an IT professional, to start getting value out of analysis services in the tabular model. In fact, we talk about tabular model a lot, and it's important to point out that we also are making sure that the traditional MOLAP model continues to get investment. We are making sure it works right, it scales better, but also that the MOLAP solutions now work with Power BI in a hybrid fashion, which was not feasible before, but now it does. So it's a big improvement and a step forward there. And last but not least, also point out that with analysis services in 2016, it actually is optimized to work with the cloud, with Power BI in hybrid fashion. The queries are much faster and they perform in a much better way. So if you can switch back to the slides, analysis services, net getting a lot of value, a lot of enhancements, improvements. And I think this slide here we might actually change and improve a little bit. So as you get the slide decks, you will see a bit of a change there. Now, the other part that's important from an IT perspective is the ability to deliver reports, and reports delivered in a fashion that can be consumed in an operational way. And SQL Server Reporting Services is exactly that. It's a modern enterprise reporting solution. And we've been asked for years, and for actually a couple of years now, releases, if you will, what about SSRS? When are you going to update it? When does it get more features? The answer is in SQL Server 2016, we are doing exactly that. We're investing in SSRS significantly. You're going to see it look better, feel better. It's much more modern. It looks, much more in the current age, if you will. And you can do all kinds of beautiful reports with SSRS. It has many visualizations that are built in. We're going to make sure that we are integrating some of the assets from DataZen as having a single backend server. So SSRS is able to go and deliver reports out to DataZen as well. So DataZen as a reporting server in SSRS that's available to it. And then last but not least, as I said before, a new portal, a new look that SSRS gets. There are many other things as well that we haven't touched upon in terms of things that SSRS can do. And I think we are actually looking back at it, this slide again should be updated, and we'll make sure that it is updated to have some more information on reporting services as you go into the Cloud Roadshow and talk about it. So that is, if you will, the third type of user who needs value, and make sure we're covering them, and that's what we're doing with SQL Server 2016, along with our gateways that allow hooking up these on-premises assets to the cloud in Power BI. With that said, the last piece we talked about in our challenges that the IT and BI professionals face is around making sure that the vast sea of data sources that are available inside an organization and outside are easily connected to, easily consumed, and delivered to users in a much more approachable way. So we do that with our Microsoft BI solutions. And we saw a little bit of that in action already, actually, with the demo that I did of Power BI connecting to Salesforce data. And as we saw there, in fact, it was worth switching over, and let me show that to you again. In Power BI, we provide the ability to get data. It's a first-class gesture, if you might, that you might do with the system. And you can go in and you can get data from databases. So you can connect actually to SQL Azure databases directly. You can connect to SQL Azure Data Warehouse. You can connect to Spark, Big Data. Many, many more coming right from there. You saw the same thing actually in the Power BI desktop. You connect to a multitude of sources that you have access to, and we keep expanding these. You connect to files, which means Excel files. It could be CSV files. They can be, in OneDrive. They can be on your personal desktop. If they're in OneDrive for Business, any change you make in the file is automatically picked up by Power BI and refreshed. So the users get value from using OneDrive and get up-to-date information from the data that they get. They can connect to these different services. We talked about those. I showed that in action to you. And you can also connect to what we call content packs, organizational content packs. And this is one view inside Microsoft where we have taken data, reports, dashboards, packaged them up together and delivered them as one single content pack. And you saw an example of that actually with the Salesforce data. But imagine doing the same thing for HR, for finance, for sales, and delivering those to people inside your organization so that when they walk in, they have a single click to value. They find the right content that they want, they click on it, and immediately get a set of reports and dashboards that they can start to work with. That's the nature of getting at content, getting at data, and enabling that. Back to my slides then. So we talked about various different abilities to connect. I'm going to actually walk them through for you with Power BI. I showed you various things on different data sources from desktop, from SaaS sources, and these content packs, which are super, super powerful in the sense that they provide this curated content that IT and which professionals like yourselves can actually create inside the Power BI desktop, package it up, and deliver value to the end user, who then just walks up and is able to consume it without having to worry about where to find information, and just gets what you believe is important to them. Okay, so with that said, we have a very rich ecosystem actually of all the different kinds of partners we're working with. Every week we update a new set of partners, SaaS services we connect to. We already connect to the top 25 to 30 at this point, depending upon when you deliver the session. The count would be changing, and it's important to keep in mind. And you can see in the slide out here the different ones we already connect to. Obviously, Microsoft sources with CRM, AX, Salesforce. But imagine this thing scrolling actually, because this slide doesn't even capture the large number of partners we're working with, and we continue to add all the time. As a result, Power BI provides the business user the ability to get at any data immediately without requiring to go and hunt for it or ask for IT's help to even get set up. And this is really, really important, again, in the unique differentiating power of Power BI and its ability to provide users data and insights from pretty much any source that is out there. In addition to these sources, we talked about the fact that we work with a variety of database partners to connect to them, and new NoSQL, big data, all of those things are able and available inside Power BI. Now, another persona we didn't quite touch on, because we talked about the users being IT professionals, BI professionals, analysts, and users. But another set of users who are really important are developers. Developers are able to deliver customizations, custom solutions using Power BI, and we actually have a rich set of APIs available for them. We allow you to go create customized visualizations. In fact, what we will have is this demo, which we don't have today, where you should show the rich type of visuals you can create, which is almost impossible with any competing tool to create. Anything you can imagine, you can have in Power BI as a visual. If you're an airplane company, you want an airplane visual, you can have it. If you are a company working on genomics and you want a DNA, a double helix visual, you can have it. If you want to have a layout of a shop floor, of a grocery store, of a retail outlet, all of those things are possible, and you can do that only in Power BI. No other tool can do that for you, actually. It's very, very different. You can embed Power BI, you can embed the tiles from Power BI into solutions. In fact, we have partners who are doing it. A very popular one embeds these tiles into PowerPoint as an Office app. You can integrate content into Power BI, such as the third-party SaaS content apps, the Salesforce and others that you saw. They use APIs to connect. And the real-time push that I showed with how old and with the social information also is using our APIs, using Azure Stream Analytics. So very rich ecosystem, very rich set of capabilities for developers. Best place is to go to powerbi.microsoft.com/developers, go connect, see. There's lots of instructions, lots of samples. Get started. There's the GitHub repositories. There's Stack Overflow forums. So I really encourage those who are developers in the crowd here to go give it a shot. Now, all this said, this would have been the demo of the custom visuals. With all this said, again, Power BI is different. Power BI does what most other tool sets cannot. It builds upon the overall Microsoft BI and analytics tool set that we have on-premises and in the cloud. It delivers a secure and managed solution with a set of tools that work for business users, for IT professionals, for analysts and developers. It allows you to connect to all kinds of data sources, and really delivers this in a modality that works for you. On-premises, in the cloud, hybrid, taking advantage of the rest of the Azure ecosystem that you may have invested in, taking advantage of any on-premises investments you made with SQL Server. All of those things come together in Power BI, in the Microsoft BI product set, and this is where you get value in a very, very differentiated way from Microsoft. So, it's important to understand that Power BI is not just in terms of a set of solutions we're talking about that are new and coming out. In fact, we have seen enormous adoption of Power BI. Over 45,000 different organizations are using it. 500,000, half a million licenses have already been assigned to users there, over 185 different countries. It is really pulling together all these different pieces and delivering value to customers, and we've seen fantastic adoption. And these numbers already outdated actually, and they're much, much larger sets of adoption that we are seeing across the planet with Power BI. I already went through, and maybe it's worth repeating, the fact that Power BI pulls together the entire Microsoft ecosystem together, and the value you get is not just from one tool, but from all your investments that you make with Microsoft in our data ecosystem. We have a bunch of stories around customers who have been very successful with Power BI. And in fact, here are a few that you can talk about that deal with I can't even pronounce it correctly, I hope I don't do injustice, to Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, who use Azure HD Insight with SQL Server and Power BI to get successful. Ziosk, same kind of thing, HD Insight, machine learning and Power BI. And then the MRWPCA in Montreal. This is the water facilities regulators in California. This is a huge big deal there, where water is a scarce resource, and they actually use, just we saw in the how old example, Stream Analytics and Power BI to give an IoT solution that monitors water consumption, can give them a view, insights and dashboards that allow them to actually make a significant difference in the lives of people in California using the Microsoft Analytical Platform and Power BI as a way to make that impact. So already we've seen great usage. Here are some examples, many more customer stories coming, but important to really stress the fact that this is part of the adoption, the excitement, and the success that we are seeing with Power BI globally and making a really, really big difference in the lives of our users. So Power BI is part of an overall set of capabilities from Microsoft that we call the Cortana Analytics Suite. It includes things around information management, around working with the big data, working with machine learning and analytics. And Power BI is a part of this solution. And this whole thing can come together and give an enormous set of value to you at the other sessions that you will see here today at the Cloud Roadshow. But just to make sure that the context is clear where Power BI fits in, the best thing to do right at this point in time is to get started right now, get started today. It's very simple. Go to powerbi.com, type in an email address, click Get Started, and that's all you need to do. Immediately you'll get the value from Power BI. Immediately you can see all the things that I showed you. You can start getting value on your own and get to see Power BI in action. Download the Power BI desktop, again from powerbi.com. There's a link. Download it, start playing with it, connect your data, do some exploration analytics, get value, publish it out to your coworkers, share those insights with them, and you will see the value of something like Power BI in action right there and then. You can also start to work with SQL Server 2016. We have CTPs available for that now. And the Cortana Analytics Suite, its website will give you information on how to access and start using it. So that's my takeaway. The last call of action, so to say, is to go try the products, sign on, and see for yourself all the things that you saw in action today. And hopefully, I'm sure I'm very confident that you will see the same kind of excitement that we've seen with users across the planet with Power BI. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a great conference here today.